Welcome to another special Majestic Mind Matters University Mandatory Mind Liberation Series message, produced by Baba Jelani Bumani Dembe and narrated by Queen Magical Melanin. Like, subscribe, and share this message with all the people you care about. I'm Queen Magical Melanin. Today, we discuss the profound perspectives shared by Baba Jelani Bumani Dembe of Majestic Mind Matters University in the Mandatory Mental Liberation Series. The focus is on why a boycott for reparations will be the most powerfully effective way for our melanin-rich nation. Boycotts are a powerful form of protest that allows individuals or communities to use their economic power as a means of expressing their dissatisfaction and demanding change. For our melanin-rich communities, boycotts can be particularly effective in advocating for social justice, equality, fair treatment, and especially reparations. By strategically withholding our support from businesses, services, and/or institutions that perpetuate injustice, our communities can send a powerful message and catalyze meaningful change. One of the most iconic examples of the effectiveness of boycotts within melanin-rich communities is the Montgomery bus boycott of 1955. This pivotal event was sparked by the arrest of Rosa Parks, a melanin-rich woman of African descent, refused to give up her seat to a white person on a segregated bus. In response to Miss Parks' arrest and the ongoing discrimination faced by melanin-rich people of African descent, riders on Montgomery's buses, the melanin-rich people of African descent community, led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., organized a boycott of the city's bus system. The Montgomery bus boycott was a carefully coordinated effort that involved a significant portion of the melanin-rich people of African descent population in the city. For 381 days, melanin-rich people of African descent residents refused to use the buses, opting instead to carpool, walk, and/or find alternative forms of transportation. This collective action had a profound economic impact on the bus system, which relied heavily on the patronage of melanin-rich people of African descent riders. As bus revenues plummeted, the city government and bus company were forced to confront the demands of the melanin-rich people of African descent boycotters. The success of the Montgomery bus boycott lay in its ability to draw national attention to the injustices of segregation and discrimination. The melanin-rich people of African descent boycotters' commitment to nonviolent resistance and their unwavering dedication to the cause inspired people across the country and galvanized support for the civil rights movement. Ultimately, the boycott led to a Supreme Court ruling that declared segregation on buses unconstitutional, marking a significant victory in the fight for racial equality. The Montgomery bus boycott serves as a powerful example of the ways in which boycotts can be used to effect powerful social change within our melanin-rich communities. By strategically targeting businesses and/or institutions that perpetuate injustice, our melanin-rich people of African descent communities can leverage their economic power to demand fair treatment, equal rights, reparations, and an end to discrimination. In doing so, we demonstrate the collective strength and resilience of marginalized groups in the face of systemic oppression. Boycotts are not just a tool for economic leverage, but also a powerful means of amplifying marginalized voices and advocating for change for our melanin-rich people of African descent. By withdrawing our support from businesses and institutions that perpetuate injustice, for our melanin-rich people of African descent communities can challenge the status quo, raise awareness of social issues, and push for meaningful reforms. Boycotts send a clear message that discrimination and inequality will not be tolerated, and that our melanin-rich people of African descent culture will not stand idly by in the face of injustice. Boycotts have long been utilized as a means of protest and resistance within our melanin-rich people of African descent communities, serving as a powerful tool to challenge systemic injustices and advocate for social change. By collectively refusing to support businesses, institutions, and practices that perpetuate discrimination, racism, and inequality, our melanin-rich people of African descent communities have been able to exert significant pressure on those in power and bring about meaningful reforms. One of the most iconic examples of an effective boycott within our melanin-rich people of African descent community is the Selma to Montgomery Voting Rights March of 1965. Following the violent attack on peaceful protesters during their march for voting rights, there was a nationwide call for a boycott of businesses that supported segregation and voter suppression. This boycott not only helped raise awareness of the civil rights movement, but also exerted economic pressure on companies to take a stand against discrimination. By hitting businesses where it hurt the most, their bottom line, the boycott exerted significant leverage in the fight for voting rights and racial equality. Similarly, the international boycott of apartheid South Africa stands as another powerful example of how boycotts can be a potent tool for social change. In response to the racist policies of the apartheid government, our melanin-rich people of African descent communities and their allies around the world launched a boycott of South African goods, services, and institutions. This international boycott played a pivotal role in isolating and pressuring the apartheid regime to dismantle segregation and transition to democracy. By refusing to support a system built on racial oppression, communities around the world sent a clear message that such injustices would not be tolerated. More recently, in 2016, the boycott of the NFL in response to the treatment of Colin Kaepernick for his peaceful protest against racial injustice exemplifies how our melanin-rich people of African descent communities continue to use boycotts to demand accountability and respect. By standing in solidarity with Kaepernick and refusing to support a league that silenced his advocacy, our melanin-rich people of African descent communities and their supporters aim to hold the NFL accountable for its handling of social justice issues. The boycott sought to challenge the status quo and demand that athletes be allowed to use their platforms to speak out against racism and inequality. Here are 5 key factors that contributed to the success of boycotts within our melanin-rich communities of African descent. 1. Strong community support and unity. In both examples, there was a strong sense of community solidarity and support for the boycotts. Our melanin-rich people of African descent communities came together to support each other in boycotting certain products or industries. 2. Leadership and organization. Effective leadership and organization played a key role in the success of the boycotts. Leaders and organizers within our melanin-rich people of African descent communities were able to mobilize people, coordinate actions, and communicate goals and messaging effectively. 3. Clear goals and demands. The boycotts had clear and specific goals, such as ending police brutality or advocating for fair treatment and representation in the media. Having clear demands helped focus the efforts of the boycott and gave our melanin-rich people of African descent a clear reason to participate. 4. Strategic planning and coordination. The boycotts were strategically planned and coordinated to maximize impact. This included carefully selecting targets, timing actions for maximum effect, and coordinating with other groups or movements for support. 5. Media and public awareness. Both boycotts garnered significant media attention, which helped raise awareness about the issues at hand and put pressure on the targets of the boycotts to make changes. Public support and awareness were crucial in making the boycotts successful. Here are 5 ways our melanin-rich people of African descent communities effectively mobilized and organized for boycotts through various strategies, such as 1. Creating community-led organizations and grassroots movements to coordinate boycott efforts. These organizations often included melanin-rich people of African descent community activists, leaders, and organizers who could effectively communicate with and mobilize community members. 2. Utilizing social media and other forms of communication to spread awareness about the boycotts and rally support. This helped to reach a wider audience and build momentum for the boycotts. 3. Partnering with other organizations and allies who supported their cause, such as civil rights groups, labor unions, and advocacy organizations. This coalition building helped to amplify their message and increase their impact. 4. Engaging in direct action tactics, such as protests, demonstrations, and consumer education campaigns, to put pressure on companies and policymakers to address their concerns. 5. developing targeted boycott strategies that focused on specific products, companies, or industries that were perpetuating injustice or discrimination against our melanin-rich people of African descent communities. Overall, by mobilizing and organizing in a strategic and collaborative manner, our melanin-rich people of African descent communities were able to effectively leverage their collective power and bring about meaningful change through boycotts. Furthermore, boycotts of major retailers and media outlets have been instrumental in pressuring companies to address issues of systemic racism, bias, and lack of inclusion. By refusing to support businesses that engage in racial profiling, cultural appropriation, or perpetuate negative stereotypes, our melanin-rich people of African descent communities have pushed for accountability and change. These boycotts have forced companies to confront their own complicity in perpetuating harmful practices and have sparked conversations around the need for more equitable representation. Boycotts have proven to be a powerful and effective strategy for advocating for social justice, equality, and systemic change within our melanin-rich people of African descent culture communities. By leveraging economic influence, mobilizing collective action, and amplifying voices, boycotts challenge entrenched systems of oppression and bring about meaningful reforms. As demonstrated by the examples given, boycotts have the power to shape narratives, shift norms, and hold any institution accountable for their actions. Ultimately, boycotts serve as a critical tool in the ongoing fight for justice, equality, and reparations within our melanin-rich people of African descent communities and beyond. In conclusion, boycotts are a potent form of protest that can be particularly effective within our melanin-rich people of African descent communities. The Montgomery bus boycott of 1955 exemplified the power of collective action and nonviolent resistance in achieving social change. By strategically targeting businesses or institutions that perpetuate injustice, our melanin-rich people of African descent communities, we can use our economic power to demand equality, fair treatment, reparations, and social justice. Boycotts are a powerful tool for our melanin-rich people of African descent marginalized communities to advocate for our rights, challenge systemic oppression, and effect meaningful change across the board. I'm Queen Magical Melanin. We trust that you have expanded your understanding through the insights shared by Baba Jelani Bomani Dembe of Majestic Mind Matters University in the Mandatory Mental Liberation series. Specifically in this discussion titled, Why a Boycott for Reparations Will Be the Most Powerfully Effective Way for Our Melanin-Rich Nation. Remember, it is essential to honor the ancestors, strive for self-awareness, treat yourself kindly, and live a fulfilling life.